But in terms of getting back into politics, just when you thought you could put your feet up with Elon getting into politics, he jumps right back in. He can't help himself. I do like that he's not jumping into the mud with Trump in terms of back and forth on social media. I think Trump jumping into the mud is what Trump loves. This is a sport for him. He does it with so many people, and I think Elon should just not take the bait. I think this is Trump just loves this stuff. If Elon were to start a third party, the America Party, historically third parties don't do well in elections. Having said that, if there's one person that could figure it out, it would probably be Elon. But I'm not sure it would really end up much different. Like he helped get a lot of Republicans elected that have now that ran on, that we want to cut spending, we want to support Doge and all this, and now they're sort of doing the opposite. They're wanting to increase spending with this bill. And even though the American Party would probably be well intentioned, my guess is unless you would change the fundamental government incentive structures, I think a lot of these American Party candidates could just, even if they win, could just get consumed by the government swamp, so to speak, and it would just fall into the special interests and the fundraising crap. And so I'm not sure Elon would have much control over that. There's only so much he can do from outside the government. So, and to me, it's just like, oh man, we'd have to go through like another year and a half of like politics and like fundraising and doing like these rallies, giving $1 million to this person. You know what I mean? Like, I guess I'm just like, what's going to cause this time to be different? Like, if we start the America Party, how is this going to be different than supporting the Republicans before? Yeah. I get what he's saying there. I think there's a lot of appetite for like positions in the middle. I think most people are in the middle rather than these extremes of either party. But unfortunately, our country is just so entrenched in this two-party system that it's going to make it hard for Elon to start a new party and for it to do well. But he's going to do what he thinks is right. He has a really strong moral compass. And if that ends up hurting his companies or the stock, he views that as a worthwhile thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sawyer made a lot of good points. For me, the technology is really what matters here. And it feels like so much of what investors are looking at is just getting distracted by this drama. I mean, it feels like a rerun of what we saw in early June, like a lighter version of that feud where it blew up. Everyone was panicking. They were predicting SpaceX was going to be nationalized. And then everything ended up being okay. I think this story is ultimately going to be less important than what's going on technology-wise with Tesla, even though it may feel much more dramatic right now. And, if you look at Elon's sort of political involvement, it hasn't exactly been a roaring success so far. I made a joke, he's complaining about this bill. Well, he got these guys elected, right? So everything bad that's happening for clean energy, supporting fossil fuels, I mean, he gave millions of dollars to make that happen. So you do have to kind of wonder, you have to kind of look at the history of third parties and say, well, why is this time going to be different? The odds of success are probably quite low. And I think all the Tesla investors, when he tweeted he was going to start a third party, were just groaning and going, oh God, not this again. But at the same time, I think one thing we can all agree about is American politics is broken. It is absolutely broken. And I think he wanted to fix it. I don't think he has succeeded so far. He's kind of gotten caught in the mud, attacked, your typical dirty politics stuff. But the system definitely is broken. We have a choice between who do you want representing you, a communist or an idiot? And that's really the choice we're presented with. So, with Elon, many of his business ventures started off not so great. With SpaceX, they started off with the rockets blowing up. With Tesla, Leonardo DiCaprio was on the side of the highway with his Roadster. The car broke down, and they needed to send someone to fix it. Maybe he figures something out here, too. I don't think it feels likely right now, but that's kind of the thing about him. A situation where any other sane person would give up, he doesn't give up. And that's kind of the good and the bad thing about him, right? I think in the SpaceX days, he said, if something's important, you do it even if the odds aren't in your favor. And I think that he feels that this is important. So if you're someone who can't stomach this, maybe you don't want to be a Tesla investor. Because at this point, it's hard to believe that he's not going to continue tweeting about politics. More controversies like what we saw this week are almost guaranteed. And that's just something that I've kind of accepted as a Tesla investor because I want to own a piece of this technology.
I think what would ultimately end up happening if he started a third party is actually, I think a lot of the people that would sign up for the America Party or get siphoned in would actually come from the Republican side. So in a way, that would actually almost dilute the votes between those two parties, American Party and Republicans, and actually potentially help the Democrats win. Because I'm not sure. I think more votes would be coming from the Republican side rather than the Democrat
For
side.
sure.
Which is not something I think he would want to see happen. I think the best way Elon should change the world is through technology and being a business leader. I think, as he said, he can increase GDP growth, bring down sort of the debt ratio by nailing it on humanoid robots, autonomous driving, stuff like that. So to me, that's the best path. I just would hate for him to go on another 1.5 year long political slog for it to just sort of end up how it did this time, and that the political leaders end up just doing the opposite of what they said they were going to do. And then we're just like, well, God damn it, we just went through this a second time. And all these Tesla investors are pissed and like, God damn, you know?
Look, all I'm saying is if you want to start a third party, save some money to start a fourth party after the third party candidate you get elected disappoints you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, it's just, I just feel like it's going to end up similar to what we're dealing with right now with the Republicans. It's just, I think Elon will end up being disappointed by all the political leaders. He might like certain ones and just end up not liking them later. So
I think fixing American politics is probably harder than scaling self-driving or getting to Mars in a different way.
yeah, I think you're right. It's because he doesn't really have control over it. Like, he can tackle the autonomous driving thing and try all kinds of first principles approach, but it's really hard to first principles of government.
Yeah, we're maybe a few years too late there. For sure. It's definitely pretty entrenched. We'll see. He's not going to stop, in my opinion. I don't think that this is a fad.
Elon is always guided by his
Yeah.
moral compass, and if something supersedes in terms of importance another thing, he's going to prioritize that number one thing. You know? And for a while, that was, you know, getting Trump elected and the Republicans elected, and then it was Doge and the national debt crisis, and then it became, well, I can't do that because all these people suck and they're not willing to codify the Doge cut. So let me just focus on increasing GDP growth via my own companies. But if he feels like there's a path for a third party and a somewhat high probability of winning, he might just go all in on that. And that's going to upset a lot of people, but ultimately Elon's going to do what he thinks is right.
We hope you enjoyed this Gigacast clip. Of course, if you want to check out the full episode, we have that right up here in the corner, the latest video. In addition with that, make sure that you're subscribed to this channel for more amazing Tesla and Elon Musk content coming from the greatest minds in the space, Omar and Sawyer. Thank you. Big thank you to Jacob Hilton for clipping up this video. He puts out a ton of Tesla content as well. The link to his YouTube is in the description. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.